Justin Gurley.
I'm Chad Spotty.
And we're the owners of Top Floor Digital Agency in Berlin. Wanted to talk a little bit today about some of the questions that we get from prospects, from clients, and things about investing in your digital marketing versus kind of viewing it as an expense. And I think one of the challenges that we kind of see is, on paper, I think a lot of us all look the same. Or I've got people internally that can do this stuff, or
Right.
My nephew does social media, so why not bring him on the staff, things along those lines. So we figured it would be a little bit easier to just kind of talk through, what it is that you should be looking for when you do decide it's time to invest in marketing. So I think one of the first things that come up is obviously choosing the right partner if that's the route that you're going. So
Right.
One of the things that I really look for is, do you actually have those subject matter experts, and why is that important?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Oftentimes how I look at it as when we're taking on a new client or there's someone that's talking to us about digital marketing, they typically have at least one person on their team that's like a marketing manager or something along those lines.
Sure.
But I think it's next to impossible for that person, that marketing manager, to be a subject matter expert or know or stay up to date on all the disciplines that are out there.
For sure.
We're talking Google paid ads, social media, organic search optimization, website development, website design. I mean, if we can meet a person that's good at all of that stuff,
You're hired.
yeah, well, let's hire them right away. So I look at that marketing manager person on the kind of client side of things as that they're kind of they're the brand liaison, right? So they know the
Sure.
company, they know the brand, they know what they need, and they know the subject matter for the company. But as far as the different disciplines and area of expertise, that's where I think we fill in kind of the gaps.
And I think even one of the things that I've noticed over my years here is even if you're only engaging with a particular channel, like let's say SEO, that's my background. You still have access to the team. So if something comes up and we're talking about a new campaign that you want to run or a change you want to make with a product, we have a team internally where we can say, hey, let's talk to our design team and see if we can come up with something for you there. Or hey, we've got paid search experts here as well, and I think you could really benefit from that. So I think not just being reliant on, I'm only doing SEO and that's all I can talk to this person about, is you still kind of have access and a foot in the door with that whole team of experts.
Yeah, right. And even if it's just to bounce ideas off of people, right? Like,
Sure.
you think this thing might work or it might be good for organic search,
Yeah.
for SEO. Who are you bouncing that idea off of? I mean, outside of Googling it, there's really no one else, typically on the client side of things when there's a marketing team of one or two to run that idea past. And so I think that's where we can fit in and say, okay, hey, Mr. Search Engine Optimization Specialist at Top Floor, is this a good idea? Do you think it's going to work? How do I test it? How do I implement it? All that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and that brings up another point is I think sometimes too, again, on paper we can look very similar. It's like we do website design, development, SEO, PPC. But I think it's important to do a little bit of research, like do they actually have a team behind this, or is it one person and you're back in that whole, like, it's my marketing manager might as well do this, because there's no way this one person could be really good at design and development and SEO and those things, and being able to, like I said, bounce ideas, ideate, come up with some really kind of creative ideas for people is key at an agency like this.
Yeah, it's a system of kind of the ideation side of it, but also the checks and balances side of it too. Like when I think about a typical website project for us, we're going into that project with a project manager, designer or a UX person, developer, an SEO specialist, possibly a paid search specialist. All those people bring to the table certain elements and areas of expertise, and they're looking at that project from that area of expertise.
For sure.
So it's not one person saying, this is the best way to do it from all these different areas and all these different backgrounds. It's each of those people coming with unique sets of ideas, kind of meeting together, collaborating, coming up with the best approach. And then ultimately, that's what comes out of Top Floor to the client and gets presented to the client.
And I think another thing that we kind of come across too is that one size fits all kind of approach to definitely web development, but I can also see it on the marketing side of things as well, where it's just kind of lather, rinse, and repeat. And I think the important part to determine with your partner is, are you following a process, which is very different from, are you just giving me the same thing you're giving everybody else?
Right.
So I think making sure that you're understanding and taking the time and asking those questions. Okay, how do you go about this process, and then how does that then fit with my business? Because I have very specific goals. Could be lead generation, could be brand awareness, could be a new product launch. Those types of things where it's like, yes, I'm going to follow this process, but it is going to be catered to you and your business.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think, trying to do the same thing, even if, with our client base and most of them being manufacturing, kind of B2B, industrial type clients, it doesn't mean that the same approach works for every one of those clients. Each client has its own unique set of challenges, differences in the way they do things, differences in the way they go to market. And so we've got that approach, but the process kind of is the same, but the way in which we come up with those decisions or those things along the way is a little bit different, and in the end result is different because of it.
We've touched on a little bit already when we've got these subject matter experts, but I think another key piece to this that again ties more into making sure that this works for that client is coming up with those proactive recommendations as well. It's not just, here, this is what you signed up for, this is all that you're going to get. You have that point of view of, hey, I know what your end goal is, have you considered X, Y, or Z? Which also brings up then the communication aspect of it, because let's be honest, it's always a struggle. Anytime you're getting multiple parties involved, communication is challenging. So
Right.
Even within a company, within departments, communication can be challenging. Add in a layer of, I'm now working with a third party who doesn't know my business inside and out. So I think one of the things to take a look at too and determine is, what is that communication preference? What do I need? Am I expecting weekly phone calls, monthly calls? Am I expecting you to basically just do it on your own and just let me know if some problem shows up? I think establishing that communication preference early in that discussion is vital for both your success and also the agency to be able to accurately provide you with an estimate for how much time you're going to need.
Yeah, I think that's super important, right? Because it's a very, anything creative is very personal. It's really hard to be able to kind of nail something on the first try, just because it's a personal thing, especially if you're the owner of the company or you're the marketing manager of a company. That's your brand. You're kind of protecting that brand, and you're the ambassador for it. So it's super important to listen, first of all. Get some input from the client on what they like, what they don't like, what they're trying to achieve with the end goal of the project. And then I think it's silly to think that you're going to go into a website redesign project, for instance, and nail it right away. And I think a lot of times what agencies do is they'll bid on a project or estimate on a project based on that. Like, hey, we're going to get it right. There's no rounds of revisions. We're going to nail this thing. We're going to go smoothly, and it's going to be great. And what you get then up front is maybe a low cost estimate, and then on the back end of that project, you're ended up paying more because you're going through more rounds of revisions, or you're having to redo things, or there's things that come up along the way. So I think one of the things that I think we do really well is we build into that estimation process, like, hey, we know it's going to take time to get this right, and we're going to account for that so that you're not having to go back and get more budget approval, or a website project is a huge expense. So say you budgeted for that this year, and all of a sudden, in the end, it's double from what you thought it was going to be. I mean, that can really hurt you and ruin your year, to be honest.
Definitely. And I think on the marketing side of things is again making sure that you're taking the time to not only just look at a page and say, okay, this is the right keyword for a paid search campaign or an SEO campaign, but are you actually taking the time to understand the competition? Like, is this even the right keyword for that particular page? Is the intent matching the right type of customer that I want to generate or pull into my website? That process again takes time, because again we're looking at it from solely a search perspective to say, okay, this word makes sense for us. There's search volume behind it. The competitors look to be the right thing, but again, we need that back and forth, that feedback to say, okay, yeah, you're on the right path, or hey, this is close, but maybe a little bit different. And I think that's really challenging, especially with manufacturers, people who do things kind of at bulk or at huge quantities for stuff that you could maybe buy at Home Depot or Walmart, and making sure that you're getting the right customer, because you don't want someone in their house that's just looking for a tape. You want someone who's, okay, can I bulk produce this? And do I have the right partner? So again, making sure that we understand that that piece is really important, and then again, that differentiates between that quality versus the quantity, where I can just say, oh no, tape's a great keyword for you, as opposed to maybe it's a tape manufacturer, a tape converter, something along those lines that might be a little bit more keyed towards my business. Maybe it doesn't have the volume, but I'm getting the right people in. So again, it's that quality versus that quantity. So yeah, those are some of the things that definitely take into consideration when looking for a partner. If you have more questions about this, feel free to reach out. Mash
Yeah.
that like and subscribe button. I don't know if it's going on YouTube, I have no idea.
This has been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.